All right, so today we're diving deep into Socrates.
Oh, yeah.
One of history's biggest enigmas, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got, looks like a book chapter here,
Okay.
full of tasted text markings, which I always find kind of funny.
Yeah.
But even more interesting is this whole Socratic problem thing.
Right.
Like, we're relying on secondhand accounts to understand this guy.
It is, it really is a puzzle, you know?
Yeah.
Trying to piece together his philosophy.
It's like a, what is it?
It's like trying to,
The philosophical mosaic.
yeah, like a philosophical mosaic.
But with only, like, fragments of the glass.
Exactly, yeah. We just have these little pieces.
Okay, so let's start with, like, the basic facts. We know he was born in Athens.
Right.
Around 469 BC, son of a stonemason.
Mm-hmm.
Served in the military. Seems like a pretty normal life.
Yeah, typical Athenian.
So how does this seemingly ordinary guy become this incredible thinker? Like, he's challenging the very core of Athenian society.
Well, I think that's where understanding the context of his time becomes really important.
Right.
Athens was in a state of decline after the Peloponnesian War, you know?
Right.
And there was this sense of disillusionment. Like, people were fixated on superficial things, wealth, beauty, status.
Oh, interesting. So it's almost like they were clinging to these superficialities to mask this deeper crisis.
Exactly. It's like a way to kind of avoid confronting the real issues.
So Socrates was like a countercultural figure, like a voice of dissent in this society obsessed with appearances.
Exactly. You could call him a gadfly, constantly questioning, probing, you know?
Oh, I like that. A gadfly.
Yeah. Always exposing the contradictions in people's beliefs. You know, imagine him like in the marketplace, just engaging people in these deep dialogues about justice, courage.
Yeah, not exactly small talk.
No, not at all. Heavy stuff.
I'm guessing that didn't make him very popular.
You got it. He made a lot of enemies, especially with those in power. He was constantly challenging authority, you know,
Right. Conventional
wisdom. He felt it was his duty to awaken people's minds,
Right.
even if it meant making them uncomfortable.
This reminds me of that famous quote, the unexamined life is not worth living.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff.
But also pretty radical for the time, don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, in a society that valued conformity and obedience,
Right.
Socrates was a true disruptor. He was saying that true wisdom begins with self-knowledge.
So how did he actually encourage this self-examination? Was it just casual conversations, or did he have like a more structured approach?
Well, this is where we get to his most famous contribution,
Yeah.
the Socratic method.
Right. The Socratic method.
It wasn't about lecturing or preaching. It was about dialogue,
Okay, yeah.
using carefully crafted questions to guide people.
So he's like a philosophical midwife, like
Yeah.
helping people give birth to their own insights.
That's a great analogy.
Ah.
Yeah, it really captures the essence of his approach.
Yeah, okay, so he's guiding them with these questions. What kind of questions? Give us an example.
So one key element was something called the elenchus.
Blancus.
Yeah, basically means cross-examination or refutation.
Okay, and?
So imagine Socrates is talking to someone about courage, right?
Okay.
He might start by asking, what is courage? Simple enough.
Yeah, so far so good.
But then he'd use a series of questions to expose contradictions, you know.
Oh, I see. So he's not letting them off easy.
Nope, not at all. He'd present scenarios where their definition doesn't hold up, force them to think deeper.
So it's not just about asking questions, it's about asking the right questions.
Right, exactly. The kind that make you confront your own biases.
But wouldn't that make him a target? I mean, challenging people's deeply held beliefs is risky.
It certainly can be. And as we'll see, his commitment to truth, his willingness to challenge the status quo,
Yeah.
ultimately led to his downfall. But before we get to that dramatic chapter, let's dig a bit deeper into the Athenian backdrop.
Okay, yeah. Let's set the stage for this clash of ideas.
All right, so picture this. So Athens, after the war.
Right. We talked about this disillusionment.
Yeah, this deep sense of, I don't know, trying to figure out who they were.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they focused on these outward appearances.
Right. Material success, status.
Exactly. Like those things could somehow fill the void.
So how did that make Socrates, like, a threat?
Well, he was emphasizing inner virtue,
Oh.
self-examination, a direct challenge to all that, you know.
So he's not just questioning, like, individual beliefs.
No.
He's going after the foundations of their society.
You got it. He saw this obsession with the external stuff
Yeah.
as a total distraction. from what really matters.
Knowledge, virtue.
Exactly. Taking care of yourself.
And he's what, just shouting this in the streets?
Pretty much. He'd engage these prominent citizens
Oh, wow.
in these dialogues, right?
Yeah.
Exposing their shallow values.
That's kind of ballsy.
Right. It's like he's poking the bear. Deliberately.
Knowing it might get him in trouble.
Oh, absolutely. But he believed in the examined life.
Right.
That it was the only life worth living.
And he had to wake these people up.
He did. Even if it meant making some enemies along the way.
Which brings us to the trial. This whole event is it's iconic.
Yeah, it's almost a symbol
Mm-hmm.
of free thought versus power.
Right. So what happened? How did we get to this point?
So in 399 BC,
Okay.
Socrates is formally accused of impiety,
Okay.
basically disrespecting the gods
Right.
and corrupting the youth.
Oh, yeah. Those are the classic charges.
The go-to moves, right?
Right.
To silence anyone they didn't like,
So they're basically just trying to shut him up.
pretty much.
Hmm.
But it shows how much anxiety he caused.
It's funny, isn't it, how power always sees curiosity as a threat?
It's a recurring theme throughout history, yeah.
It really is.
But in Socrates' case,
Yeah.
they claimed he was introducing new gods, leading the youth astray.
Right. Away from tradition.
But what they really feared was his influence.
That he could make people think.
Exactly. Question the accepted narratives.
Yeah.
Think for themselves.
So what did Socrates do? How did he defend himself?
Oh, he didn't back down. Not at all.
No.
His defense, it's recorded in Plato's Apology.
Yeah, I've read that.
It's amazing. Pure philosophical reasoning.
Really shows his convictions.
He argues that his questioning, it wasn't to undermine anything.
Right.
It was to seek truth, encourage virtue.
He was trying to help.
Exactly. He even said he was a gift from the gods,
Oh, wow.
a gadfly sent to wake them up.
That's a bold move.
It is. He says silencing him would harm the city
Because it would stop their progress.
toward wisdom, virtue.
Wow. So he kind of flipped it around on them
He did, saying they were the ones hurting Athens.
by suppressing thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By suppressing free inquiry.
Did it work? Did they buy it?
Not quite.
No.
He was found guilty. By a close margin, though.
So what happened then?
The penalty was death.
What? Just like that.
I know. A tragic turn of events.
But he stayed true to his principles.
Until the very end. He could have escaped.
He refused.
Yeah. Wouldn't compromise his beliefs.
What a powerful statement.
It really is. Accepting his fate instead of betraying his convictions.
The examined life.
Yeah. Even in the face of death.
So his death, in a way, adds to his legacy.
Absolutely. It makes him a martyr.
For truth. Free thought.
Exactly. His ideas lived on. Through the centuries.
Inspiring countless others.
Philosophers, artists, reformers. But there's one more piece of the puzzle.
What's that?
His specific philosophical ideas.
Oh, right. Not just the method.
Right. But the actual content.
The substance of his philosophy.
Yeah. Because the method is meaningless without principle.
Without something to guide the inquiry.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's where we see the true depth of his thought.
So, okay, we talked about the method, this whole Socratic method. But what about the content? Like, what did Socrates actually believe?
Well, that's the thing about Socrates, right?
Yeah.
His philosophy wasn't just some abstract ideas. It was about, like, how to actually live.
Yeah.
How to make decisions. How to be a good person.
So it was practical.
Totally. And this idea that true knowledge starts with self-knowledge. You know that quote, the one everyone knows.
The unexamined life.
Exactly. That wasn't just a catchy phrase for him. He meant it. You can't really live a good life if you don't even know yourself.
That makes sense. How do you even do that? Self-examination. That's kind of hard.
Well, Socrates thought you had to start by admitting you don't know everything.
Oh, okay.
Not that people are stupid, but like being humble. You know, what you think you know might be wrong.
So being open to being wrong.
Exactly. Recognizing the limits of your own knowledge. That's powerful.
It is. Especially nowadays when everyone thinks they're right about everything.
Right. But that willingness to admit you don't know everything, that opens you up to learning.
And then to better choices, maybe.
Well, yeah, because then you get to virtue.
Right, virtue. But what do you even mean by that?
It wasn't just following the rules, you know?
Okay.
For Socrates, virtue was tied to knowledge.
Oh, interesting.
He thought if someone truly understands what's right, they'll do it naturally.
So bad actions come from ignorance.
Exactly. It's not that people are bad, it's that they don't understand.
That's a pretty radical idea.
It is. He saw virtue as wisdom, like truly understanding what's good and just.
And you learn that through dialogue, right?
Exactly. Questioning, self-examination, that whole process.
So it all comes back to that. It's not just about knowing stuff. It's about using that knowledge
To live a better life,
to make
better choices.
to be better people.
Exactly. And that's his real legacy. His ideas were the foundation for, like, centuries of moral philosophy.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. So he's giving us a roadmap, basically.
Yeah, you could say that. A roadmap to a life guided by principles. But it's not easy, you know.
Right. Putting it into practice is hard.
It is. Socrates didn't give, like, easy answers.
Yeah.
He gave us a way of thinking, a commitment to self-reflection, the pursuit of truth.
So it's about the journey, not the destination.
Right. It's about always questioning, seeking understanding, not settling for simple answers.
Always that inner philosopher.
Exactly. Asking why, challenging assumptions, trying to understand yourself and the world. And so, as we wrap this up,
Yeah.
the best way to honor Socrates is to keep asking those questions.
To really examine our lives.
Yes. And who knows, you might have your own breakthroughs along the way.
And even though we might never fully understand Socrates the man,
Yeah,
engaging with his ideas, that's the real reward.
absolutely. It's a legacy we can all share.